All right, good Monday afternoon, everybody. It has been a while since it's been me and you on here.
Yeah, it has.
I think last time we were together here on the News 10 Plus digital desk, the Lions, were they winning?
I don't really know. I don't know. All I know is that they are.
They are. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters right now. They're
two
winning.
down, 2 to go.
That's right.
2 down, 2 to go. What a game. What a game.
It was so exciting.
Yes, definitely. And so that's going to be all the talk of the town, of course, here in our area, but of course on Studio 10 as well. We're going to recap the Lions, because that's what everyone's talking about. The game, the reaction, who was there, and then of course what happens next. They're headed to San Fran. But if you can't get tickets, there are places you can watch it around here. You can cheer them on, especially what to kind of really expect this coming week. So we're pretty pumped for that. As well as our show, we're kind of starting off, it's a lot of education today. Sometimes people take the new year and they want to start something new. We've been talking about different hobbies, but sometimes people want to learn more. Mm-hmm. And there are different opportunities here in the mid-Michigan area where people can go back to school or continue school. So if folks never finished their high school education, never got that GED, there are great opportunities that people can do so and not feel judged, but feel supported, feel loved, and giving that cushion so they can really kick off the new year and be on roll to have that cap and gown, have that diploma by June. So we'll have those conversations on Studio 10. Plus, Plus, yes. Safe. We're safe here. But also, we looked outside, winter weather. Mm-hmm. It's happened. Every year, we're always like, oh my gosh, it's going to snow. But yes. We live in Michigan. But we have ways to kind of be more prepared and be proactive.
Oh, I need that.
Yes. So just because accidents might happen. That's why they're called accidents. And so what to do if you are in that situation and how to get yourself out of it as well. So you're
talking like when you're driving or
if you get in an accident.
Okay.
Yep. So we stopped by Tripp's Collision to get some tips from him in terms of how to be proactive, but also when you get in a car accident, how do you take a picture, your estimates, insurance, all of that kind of stuff. We kind of break it down and feel that support from different community businesses.
That's good because you're not thinking clearly. I know from personal experience, you're not thinking clearly.
Yes.
When you get into an accident and you're kind of depending on other people to tell you what to do, and they might be telling you wrong. So you really need to know what's going on. And are you planning on learning anything in 2024? Is there something that you've set your goal? You want to learn how to knit? You want to learn how to?
I put on there I want to learn a new recipe once a month.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So
and then you're going to share with the class. That's so nice of you.
Yeah, of course. Buffalo chicken meatballs. That's what I made.
Good one.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I had a buffalo chicken for a producer yesterday, and he swallowed a whole chicken wing. It was boneless, don't worry. But he ate it.
Good.
He ate
it. We don't have help on how to help people from cooking, but we do have help with your gut health.
Ooh,
so if you have a gut feeling that you want to really work on that, and it can be overwhelming, it's something that everyone's kind of working on: detoxing, probiotics, prebiotics.
They're everywhere.
Exactly. So we have someone from Digestive Health Institute coming down to break it down for us, literally. And it'll be great to kind of, like I said, very education-based show today, which is good to kind of ease us into a fun week, especially with our Lions.
My goal was to get a little bit more proficient in a foreign language.
Oh, nice.
I was learning Spanish for a couple of years, and now I'm moving on to Swedish.
Ooh.
Which is very hard,
but
it's interesting.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure. Good for you.
I know, it's kind of fun.
2024, here we go.
All right.
Here we go. Awesome.
Well, here she goes. She's going to take off and head out to work on Studio 10. Here's where you can find them on everything that we have: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, if you have any ideas, maybe you have something that you are working on and you want to share it with the ladies of Studio 10, you can email them at studio10.wilx.com. At wilx.com. I think I said .wilx.com. Anyway, what's going on here? I don't know what's happening.
If I used a box, this is what life would be like. So
okay. Well,
we're not going to do that.
Okay.
We're going to move it.
Yeah, move it.
Out of the way. That's probably fine. We're good enough.
Just don't unplug anything.
Perfect. No. It's good.
I have some props here. Do you know what
they're for? Oh, donuts? I don't know what they're for, actually.
Do you know what they're for?
I know that they're donuts. They look pretty good.
They smell amazing, first of all.
Yeah.
So we've got a glazed blueberry donut right here.
Sure.
And it's kind of hard to tell because of the color, but this is a donut with some white sprinkles on it. It's got white frosting and white sprinkles. And I brought these over because I feel like they could be educational in freezing rain and sleet.
Okay, that's
and
interesting.
the difference between the two. You're gonna.
I see where you're going with that. I like that. That's
also, I wanted to steal these donuts before anybody else did.
Fair enough. See, that's the bonus right there.
So you're going to talk a little bit. We were talking this morning about the possibility of some freezing rain and some sleet coming our way. There is a difference, and I think a lot of people are confused on which is which.
Yeah.
So you're going to take a look at the weather, and we're going to talk about the difference between those, and I'm going to hide these.
It's always good to have some props, especially when it's food.
Oh.
That's a good call. I like that.
That's pretty
Very
good.
nice. Yeah. But yeah, we do have a little bit of adverse weather coming our way. So we've been talking about this for a few days, and we've now gone ahead and made it a first alert weather day for tomorrow. Wow. This is primarily going to affect your early day commute for the first half of the day. And so the Tuesday start going to be a little tough. That's not to say that out there this evening we couldn't have a few slippery areas. There is a little bit of light freezing drizzle with some of the snowflakes across mid-Michigan today. And so that's kind of what we have going right now, and sort of what we're looking forward to diving into this forecast. The good news is that once we get past tomorrow's system, we're kind of into a more mild pattern. We're going to be talking highs in the 40s, and even when they're 30s, those are going to be the dry days in our forecast. And so we're all above average from here on out. Looks like through the end of the month of January, every single day is going to be above normal. And so that's where we're headed. And I think February, the first week, is going to promise some even warmer temps. We're talking 40s and maybe even a chance at 50 degrees during February's first week. And so that's what we have to look forward to for those who are tired of the cold, are tired of the snow, because it's going to be melting the next few days.
All I'm thinking, first week of February, just after that is Super Bowl in Vegas, so it's going to be hot. We got to get used to it because the Lions are going to be there.
I know, and at least the Lions have been hot.
Yeah,
So that's been good. They've been good, and I've got a pretty good feeling about next week. I mean, I don't know. I think that's a really good team. That's easily the best team we will have played so far.
Oh, definitely.
And it's in their field. We don't have our home crowd, but you know what?
They might not have some of their star players though.
That's true. There could be a couple folks out for them, and also. You're just talking about the countrywide seems to be bandwagon support on the Lions right now as the perpetual underdog. I think it's pretty cool.
Do you have any friends that are like, oh, I'll support the Lions right now, and you're like,
I have a few. I have a couple out-of-staters who are jumping on just because, not that it's their team, but they're like, my team's out. If there's a team to root for, why not? And so, we'll accept that help. That's good. I hope people have believed. I mean, I've been to 3 games this year, and I've been excited to go, and I've been a diehard fan, and so I'm excited. This is house money, right? Yeah. It's got to be. It's got to be. I mean, getting the monkey off the back, the first win, and then this past week, getting 1 win from the Super Bowl, I mean, that's incredible. But let's get into talking weather, because I love the Lions, and there's a lot more coming about that.
Let's pump the brakes.
Yeah, outside you can see some of what's going on. You see a few droplets on the camera lens here on I-496. That, once again, is just sort of what we're dealing with out there this afternoon on a live look. And so those are the conditions we have going. 28-degree temperatures are what we have. And once again, you see droplets on the camera. That's because within some of the snowflakes, even though it's 28 degrees, this is part of a warm air mass that's moving in on top of a cold, dry air mass. That's going to play into why we're seeing the precipitation we are. So here's satellite radar, and you see most of the returns coming back as snow, but you also see in the southwest corner of Michigan, near and south of I-94, a little bit of pink coming in. Now that's the mixed precipitation, and this can be sleet, it can be a mix of rain and snow, it can also be freezing rain, or in this case, freezing drizzle, and that's what I think some folks may have to deal with this evening. A wider view shows the rest of that system, and it's moving towards us. You can see St. Louis, before they warmed up today, they were dealing with a lot of that mix, and now it's become more rain. Well, for us, it's what you see now as snow is going to become the mix as we get into this evening and overnight, and especially late overnight into our Tuesday morning, and that's going to cause the slow morning commute. So quickly, first alert weather day for tomorrow. It's because we're dealing with sleet and freezing drizzle. It is possible to see a glaze of ice in some locations, and once again, this causes poor travel no matter what you're getting for the Tuesday morning drive. But again, this is all because we have a warm system sliding in, and where weather alerts include advisories for all counties through Tuesday. And so everybody is under that, and so that's what we have going on out there right now. So we did want to now get into what some of this is. Now, we know, pretty simply speaking, cold air column, right?
Yes.
you're going to get snow. It's just simple as that. If the whole air is cold and below freezing, you're going to have your precipitation fall in the form of snow. That one doesn't need to take a lot of explaining. Now this is when things get interesting, because when you have, like our current setup, a warm system moving over some cold air, you still at the top of that warm system have cold air, cold enough for things to start as snowflakes. But then you get a little layer in there that's warm, and when that happens, everything kind of melts. But then as it comes towards the ground, it refreezes, especially when that cold layer is large. It gives it enough time for those raindrops to refreeze into little balls or little pellets of ice.
At bottom cold air.
Yeah, and they almost look like hail in some regards, and they fall as sleet. That's what we call that precipitation. However, if you get a really large warm layer, but you still have cold enough air at the surface, then it will, well, those droplets essentially don't have time falling through that bottom cold layer to refreeze until they hit the ground. And if the ground is cold at that point and the droplets spread out, once they spread out, it's easier for them to freeze over. It's the same reason why, we've talked about before, why bridges ice more easily than regular roads, is because you have less, or you have a wider surface area, but it's thinner, and so it's easier to freeze. Same reason that a shallow lake freezes faster than a deep one, and everything like that. So when it spreads out, it freezes, and that's when you get the freezing rain to take place. And so the size of that warm air layer as the system spreads in makes a huge difference. And the funny thing is, for all three of these types of precipitation, the air could be the same temperature at the surface. And so how you differentiate whether it is snow, sleet, or freezing rain or drizzle all depends on the profile going vertical throughout the air. And so when it's all cold, we get all snow. But when it's a warm air layer, we're talking about blending in there, you get a variety of different types of things going on. And so that's sort of what we have, if that makes sense.
It didn't look like how I thought it was going to look, so we're going to go back to this.
Yeah, well,
but yeah,
I got you.
It's very interesting because I know some people think of them as interchangeable, and I guess in some cases they kind of could be. Like, you could have both in the same day.
Right, and you can have both falling at the same time. I mean, that's the other thing. And people wonder, how do you differentiate a rain-snow mix? Well, it's simple. You have, you don't always have a clean cut like this. Like right now, this slice of the air, you have cold, warm, cold. Well, sometimes it can be cold, warm, cold, warm, cold. And it can vary a lot. And so some of those big droplets make it through as rain while the small droplets freeze, and then you're talking all sorts of different types of mixes. You can have sleet turn into, I remember one time I was sitting outside my apartment here in mid-Michigan, and we had a system start as snow, and then there was like a mix of snow and sleet, and then it was all sleet, and then it was a freezing drizzle, and then it was rain, and then it went to a rain-snow mix, and then it went back to sleet, and then back to freezing drizzle. It can vary greatly, and that's what tomorrow's going to be for us. Now, the good news is the precipitation tomorrow is light, and so it's not a very heavy event. This is why we're not expecting any big widespread power outages or anything, and we'll talk about what kind of ice accumulation we could expect from this. I think if you're near and even north of M21 in the St. John's area, you maybe could get an inch or two of snow. I think the Lansing area, probably up to an inch of snow, but it's also going to mix in with a little sleet. And so I think tomorrow we battle back and forth between like kind of a slushy looking snow accumulate as a thin layer for a moment, but also having a thin glaze of ice at times too. And so that's why we have the first alert weather day for tomorrow, is because it's a blend of several different modes of precipitation, and depending on where you are and what time you're there, we could have some great impacts from that. And so that's sort of what we have going. So I see that Michelle, and hello Chris, of course, East Lansing, thanks for watching. Michelle is asking when the ice is coming. We might get a little bit of freezing drizzle later this evening, along with the snowflakes, but the main event is going to be overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. I think the most difficult travel conditions for us are going to be tomorrow as you're getting up for the morning drive, especially those untreated roads. If you don't have any salted surfaces, and salt will work very well with these temperatures since they're close to 30 to 32 degrees. So if you want to plan ahead, a good thing to do is, if you have some salt or you have whatever other compound that you use or blend of that, just even tonight, sprinkling some on your driveway or your front walkway or porch steps, that can go a long way, because then you really don't give the ice time to accumulate, even if it's so thin, and then that'll help melt things off. And so you'll be able to keep things dry. That's kind of a good step if you've got some already, something that you can kind of do to prevent having to deal with it at all, because if you wait until tomorrow, you might walk out on your porch to go spread it, and you might go, oh, this is a little slippery. And this is not a big, like, ice storm for us. That's what
Right.
we've kind of been trying to stress too. It is a first alert weather day because travel will be difficult. But again, it's not anything that's expected. Like we've had ice storms here in mid-Michigan.
We have.
This event tomorrow is not going to be on that level of intensity for the ice portion. And the higher amounts are actually expected if you go further south. So if you live south of I-94 in Jackson, particularly Branch, Hillsdale, Lenawee counties, and you live there, you might have a better chance to deal with some slightly higher totals of ice that will cause things to be a little more problematic and slippery through tomorrow. But for most of us, Jackson and north of I-94, this is kind of an event that gives us sort of a blend of everything, all at separate times throughout the day. And by the end of the day, it's likely going to be all rain for all of us, and not freezing rain or anything. It'll just go to regular rain for the second half of the day. And so that's the good news, is the impacts are limited to the early parts of the day, but we may also see some of them tonight too.
So Michelle was asking about when is the ice coming in. Like we said, it kind of depends on where you're at, because we've got viewers up in St. John's, all the way down in Hillsdale. She was asking about Lansing. Is it going to come tonight or tomorrow?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And so that's sort of what we're on. So again, tonight, it's looking, the whole area has a chance to get some little bit of freezing drizzle mixed in with some snowflakes. But after midnight is when we really start to see a few more of the impacts, and towards tomorrow morning especially. Whether you're in Lansing, Jackson, Hillsdale, any of those places, the timing for seeing the precipitation is pretty similar for all of us. What exactly you're seeing, the further north you are, it's actually going to be the less kind of icy impacts you deal with and more a mix of snow and sleet. Whereas if you're near and south of I-94, it's primarily going to be kind of a freezing drizzle to rain event, and really not as much in the way of snow showers.
So, freezing rain, sleet. Hope that is.
And that's good. Yeah, and the thing is, at least with the sleet, it's grainy, and so you at least have a little bit of traction, you know, and that's the thing. And so even though it's still not as good as, of course, dry conditions, you at least have a little more than you would on just the ice, where you have kind of a smooth glazed surface. And the problem is, you can even be coming up to a stop sign maybe 10, 15 miles an hour and think, oh yeah, you've got plenty of time to brake, and then suddenly you're just going, you know. And that,
trying to be a director here.
There you go. And that can kind of be how things pan out sometimes. And so
I don't know if that's helping anybody or not.
If you can catch it and see how it looks.
There you go.
Yeah, but that's essentially kind of what we're dealing with across the area. And so we'll look kind of at the hour by hour to break this down for folks. And you notice here that there is a little bit of that pink color showing up on the map as we head into this evening. So again, at times could deal with a bit of that. Temperatures are going to continue to rise through the rest of this afternoon. A lot of us are mid to upper 20s now. We'll be in the low 30s even before midnight. And then you see these numbers as we go towards the morning. So there's the rest of the system building in. And we're dealing with a bit of a mixed bag. Now the thing is, with a difficult transition of the profile, the future radar here, an hour by hour, shows pretty much all of the mixed precipitation, which again, we know there are several types. We're talking about freezing rain, drizzle, sleet, a little bit of rain snow mix. That all shows up as the same color, and so tough to differentiate. But frankly, tomorrow it'll be tough to do that anyway, because it's not a perfect transition from rain to snow with all the rest of that in between. It can vary greatly depending on where the individual location is, like where you are, and so that's what we've got. And so once again, we're seeing snow to the north, a bit of more rain to the south, and if the temperatures are at or below freezing, you might get a little bit of a glaze of ice. The good news is that with these numbers not being like 27, 28, and instead being in the low 30s, that gives us a better opportunity to treat this, and it makes it more difficult for anything that is ice to freeze. And so that's the good news and kind of the silver lining. Now, as we head further out into Tuesday, you see here by about 10 a.m., that line kind of shrinks and it goes to more of a mix between rain and snow, and that's because we're going to have that warm layer sort of eroding away or blending with the cold air. And so instead of getting the nice defined profile that we talked about a minute ago, you end up seeing a little bit more of kind of a blended and mixed profile, which means you either tend to get rain or snow by the time we hit midday tomorrow. And then into the afternoon, you see here we all go above freezing, and that means that anything that does fall, even as drizzle, likely does not freeze, with the temperatures staying above the freezing mark. However, you'll notice here in the hour by hour as we go further out, we're keeping the mild air around. In fact, I think the overnight low will be at or even above freezing Tuesday night. And look at this on Wednesday. We have a rain system moving into mid-Michigan. Temperatures likely climb to around 40 degrees, and anything that would mix stays well off to our north of the viewing area, and so it's all rain for Wednesday, and so that's kind of what we have by then. Now here's ice accumulation. This is going to be sort of the big question mark with this system, is how much are we able to accrue? This is just one of our models, and it throws down less than 1/10 of an inch in most spots that are getting any. Again, you see places to the north, it's going to be more snow sleet as opposed to a freezing drizzle, and again, these numbers of course are not hard set with what we will see, but I also think these are a bit overdone, and I'll tell you why. Again, with that warm layer that we have, we also are trying to encounter and overcome dry air at the surface. And so even if the model here throws down 1/10 of an inch of ice in Jackson or 1/1300ths of an inch in Hillsdale, this ice or this freezing drizzle as it falls is going to have to battle dry air. And a lot of this precipitation as it falls tends to evaporate when it encounters dry air like this. Not always, but often it seems like that's the case. And that's why sometimes these models sort of overestimate and overshoot, is because they don't do a perfect job. They do a good job, but they're not perfect in estimating how much actually reaches the surface versus how much evaporates just before it reaches the surface.
Okay.
And so I think personally most of these numbers are a little overdone. I could see a 0.04 in Howell, or maybe even a 0.13 in Hillsdale there, but where they'll see a little bit more towards the state line. But of course, this is something we're going to keep a close eye on as we go throughout the coming hours. Certainly going to have updates this evening and definitely tomorrow morning as well, as we're encountering the event. And so planning ahead now and just making sure that you know what to expect is going to be very important during this system. But
what about the chances of school closings for that amount?
Oh yeah, and so I'll go back one more time to show it. So this is something that I don't necessarily think will close a bunch of schools. Of course, we don't really factor into the decision making other than to just show you what the forecast is going to be like. I think tomorrow it's a sloppy morning for most. There may be some closures. Just kind of depends on your district and how they handle different snow days and things of the like. I expect we'll probably see some places close, at least maybe have a delayed start or something, so that you can get in the afternoon when things are kind of smoothing back out, or in the late morning. But for the early drive tomorrow, we're really just at this point urging caution, because these are the types of situations where you end up with some black ice, or you think that, oh, the road's just wet, but there's actually just a thin enough layer of glazed ice out there that it can cause some issues. So as far as school closings go, I think it depends on your district. I wouldn't plan on it necessarily and expect it or anything, but I think there are a few places that may just try to avoid it altogether. And as I mentioned, we head towards the end of the month here and start of February. Look at this above average temperature map. This is pretty much everyone in the whole country, but particularly the northern plains and the Great Lakes, expecting to see warmer than normal temperatures in the 8 to 14 day outlook. And so the 10-day, if you're not a snow lover, you may not like it very much, but if you are tired of the snow and you're tired of the cold and you're always searching for us to get back into gloomy 40-degree weather and have it just go back to being brown outside again, then you're going to like this forecast, because we're going to do that on Wednesday. I do think Wednesday through Friday, in addition to rain showers, we're talking about the snow continuing to kind of erode away here, whether it's melting into the ground because of the warmth, or if it's being washed away by the rain, or even a process that we have fun talking about when it comes to snow. People like to say evaporating, but technically the water cycle process is called sublimation, when it goes directly from a solid state, of an ice or snow into a water vapor gas. And so it skips melting into water, because melting is when it goes from solid to liquid. When it goes directly from solid to gas, we call it sublimation. If it goes the other way around, we call it deposition, but that doesn't happen a lot in most typical weather. And so it's normally sublimation that we're more looking at.
Going back to like my 5th grade science, I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and you have your evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and then you've got your melting and your freezing, and in addition to that, you have your sublimation and deposition. It's just fun processes of the water cycle that we talk about fairly often. And so, again, 10-day forecast, the tail end you see here, a lot of highs in the 30s, but they're mid to upper 30s, and they're dry. And so I think over the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame, I'm not necessarily saying it'll all be gone, but I think most of what we still have snowpacked out there will get out of here by the time we hit the weekend.
That was my next question is, are we going to still have all of that snow in our front yards and in those ditches and everything?
Yeah, I think the big piles that some people have will survive into the weekend, but I think there will be a lot of people who take a look outside and maybe a lot, or if not all of their yard is no longer snow covered.
They'd be okay with that?
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're headed. So again, you have 3 factors working against you. You've got air temperatures in the 40s, well above freezing. You've got the rain washing everything away, and then we're going to see some foggy conditions because we'll have a lot of that, again, weather word, sublimation taking place. And so that's what we'll have happening. And I, once again, think we don't go beyond the 10-day forecast here, at least not yet. And I'm not saying that's something that's coming, but if we would go out past the 10-day, I'm expecting 40s to return by the end of next week again, and then it's possible we could be talking a day near 50 degrees by the time we hit that first weekend of February. And so if that gives you something to look forward to, then I guess keep an eye out, keep a weather eye on the horizon in our forecast. That's kind of what we're dealing with here going forward.
And of course, as you're planning and looking forward to making those plans and everything that you need coming up, great tool to have is the First Alert weather app.
Yeah, with all the great tools and features that we tout all the time, between interactive radar and video forecast updates, as well as push notifications and alerts. You get traffic updates when the roads are bad. And you also are able to watch the videos and for different forecasts. You can customize the location and other features to what your liking is.
I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, and very, very user friendly. So yeah, it's a very cool thing. Very cool thing to do. We've had some very recent updates come in on it. Once again, Google Play in the App Store, absolutely free. I'm sure a lot of you listening who hear me talk about this almost every single day have it. And you've heard me talk about it as much as I have, but it really is a great tool that you can use anywhere, not just here in mid-Michigan. And it will always have your most accurate forecast. That's our vision and what we strive to do. We're always looking for feedback as well, so if there's anything you'd like to see that's within our power, we will try our best to make it happen. We want to be your trusted source for weather, and First Alert Weather App is just kind of an extension of that First Alert brand and what we bring you on air, online, and on all of our platforms here at News 10. And so if you don't have it, we hope that you'll download it if you've got a smart device or tablet or anything. But it's a great tool to have, especially you can when you're not able to catch us on the airwaves and you say, oh, well, I missed the forecast tonight, or I don't want to hear Justin tell me about it. I want to go to the First Alert Weather app, and you might encounter my video there, so I'm sorry if that's the case. But either way, you can get the forecast that you like to have, and it's right in the palm of your hand. It's a great tool.
So I just looked up the weather for San Francisco on Sunday.
There you go. What does it say?
Let's see. Morning clouds and afternoon sun, but in the evening, partly cloudy skies early, then becoming foggy and damp later at night.
We could have an interesting game.
Yes, and it is an outdoor stadium, Levi Stadium.
That's true.
So
it's interesting. We'll have to see how things go.
All right.
So.
Might be like saving that. Anyway,
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Justin, for the explainer.
Of course.
And a lot of people, whenever they hear ice storm, sleet, rain, freezing rain, a lot of questions come up. So hopefully that helped out a little bit with what we have going on. And again, the First Alert Weather app also has school closings. So if you want to check that out, and with tomorrow being a First Alert Weather Day, you could win an umbrella.
Big.
So you have it.
That's good.
I don't even have the umbrella.
I love those things. I've got one, and it's good. It's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
I've got an umbrella. I gotta have an umbrella. Come on.
I know. I get it.
I got a First Alert umbrella. I love it. It's very nice.
Once upon a time, Darren said I was an honorary member of the First Alert Weather team, but
cool.
Maybe next First Alert Weather Day I'll get an umbrella.
We'll get you hooked up.
But make sure you download that. It's very, very easy to use. Like I said, you can customize it. I was telling Darren this morning, especially in days like these, my favorite feature of the app, aside from it being free, is the road conditions map. That's really, really helpful, at least for somebody like me who gets kind of cautious on the roads this time of year. So
yeah, tomorrow morning it might be a helpful tool to have, especially if we're dealing with some mixed precipitation and roads are not the best. And so once again, you get your First Alert update there. We also are just really promoting, once again, it's not a big ice storm.
Nope.
It's not go buy all the bread and all the eggs and all the milk and everything. Like, it's not one of those. I'm not expecting any big widespread power outages or anything with the system, but we did want to let you know that the road's going to be kind of a tough commute for you tomorrow, and maybe even very late tonight if you're out and about.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Justin. And as you can tell, Taylor is not here, otherwise she'd be on the desk right now. So we actually have Ann Emmerich in for Taylor Gattoni on first at 4 today. And here's what we've got coming up. We have a health alert actually about multivitamins. Millions of people take them. I know I take them. I think a lot of people in our newsroom take them. But now there's new evidence that they can have a very real impact on your memory, and it's actually a very good impact on your memory. So we're going to have that at 4 o'clock. Plus at 5 o'clock, Tim Stout is going to recap the Lions' victory over the Bucks to move on to the NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers. That is going to be at 6:30 on Sunday. And once that game starts, we'll already know who is going to the Super Bowl for the AFC, as the Kansas City Chiefs will play the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore at 3 p.m. So those teams will be playing first. That will decide who's going to the Super Bowl for the AFC, and then the 49ers and the Lions will battle it out to see who is going to represent the NFC. At 5:30, there is a new proposal on Capitol Hill to help farmers deal with the high cost of labor. So we'll take a look into that. And at 6, as snow begins to pile up across parts of Michigan, like Justin was saying, we have a little bit of a mix down here in mid-Michigan, but other parts are seeing plenty of snow. People are out snowmobiling, and the Michigan Department of Natural Resources says there are a few things that you can do to stay safe if you decide to go out snowmobiling. So we will have that at 6 o'clock. Let's see, Flex just asked roads for tomorrow. It kind of depends on where you're at. It could start as early as tonight into tomorrow morning. It could be a mix. It could either be freezing rain or sleet. You might want to actually watch this video again and rewind it to the very beginning where Justin was talking about how the roads are going to be in different parts of our viewing area. So Flex will make sure that you get that at the end of this live stream. But for now, I am actually going to turn it over to Erin Bowling. She is going to have a look at what she's working on coming up on News 10 later today.
Hi, Crystal. Today I'm at Bath High School to learn how they're addressing the referee shortage with an elective course. I'll have this story on News 10 at 6. Back to you, Crystal.
All right, thank you very much, Erin, for that update out of Bath Township. And I'm going to be back here in a little bit with Tim Stout. I'm going to pick his brain about the Lions game. We're also going to look at how the Red Wings snapped Tampa Bay Lightning's 5-game winning streak. So last night, both the Lions and the Red Wings beat Tampa Bay teams in Detroit. Very good night for Detroit. So we'll have an update on that, plus some news out of the golf world. So we're going to have all of that coming up around 3:45. And before I let you go, I just want to let you know that as we are in this gloomy weather season, sometimes mental health issues can get worse, and that's why we have put together an initiative called You're Not Alone. It's a series of stories of triumph and recovery from everything from depression and suicidal thoughts to anxiety and more. So you can scan the QR code on your screen right now, pause it if you need to, scan that QR code, and a list of resources will pop up that are available to anyone experiencing a mental health crisis, or you can call 988 for help. Or you can even text 988 for help if you don't feel like calling. And remember, you are not alone. So make sure you check out that QR code if you need it. Share it with somebody who may need it. We also have a full list of resources on our website, WILX.com. So I will let everybody go. And I will be back here in a little bit with Tim Stout. If you have any questions or comments on the Lions game, maybe you remember the last time the Lions were in this position back in 1992, let us know. Join the live chat, and we would love to hear from you guys. So that will be coming up around 3:45. Until then, make sure you download the First Alert Weather app to stay up to date on all of our First Alert weather, and we will see you later.